and welcome to Joy in Our Town. I'm your host, Suzette Mailer. We have a great show planned for you today. My special guest is Miss Rose Hedgemond. She's from an organization called Avenues of Excellence, and we're going to be talking about the importance of social skills and workforce training. Welcome. How are you?
I am great. Thank you so much for having me, Suzette. I'm so excited.
Now, this is a very timely issue because
Yes.
some of the social graces that were once very common are not as common. Let's start with, why is that? What has the change in society been when it comes to social skills?
Yes, that is such a very important topic, and it's so key, and it's a really great question. You know, nowadays we are full of technology, and technology is great. Many parents and teachers will say, no, technology is bad. No, technology is a tool, and it's great. We need technology to spread the gospel of the Lord Jesus all over the world. However, because of that technology, we don't talk to each other as much as we used to. Families don't come to the table and actually sit and dine and communicate. So now what has happened is there's been a dulling, a softening on the way that we communicate and interact with each other. Instead of me knocking on the door and say, Suzette, you have some eggs or some milk for me? You know, I now can text you, you know. So we've become a little dull and softened. And with our kids and our teens especially, this has become a growing problematic epidemic, because now, just with the whole environment change, it has now really shrunk back the way that our kids are now able to be raised up with respect and with character and with integrity.
And it seems like, and you brought up so many great points there, there are times in a family, in the same house,
Yes.
you could be in your kitchen and you're texting your child to come to dinner.
Dinner's ready.
Or anything else that's going on.
Yes.
Parents are texting, and like you said, technology is an important part of society.
Yes,
it is a necessary part of society. But how do we make sure as a parent or caregiver that we're not losing that social interaction that's so important to have with our young people?
Absolutely. Well, just that. Technology we want to use to help us either expand or move forward quickly in our business, in our school. But what we're training now, or in endeavoring to train not only organizations, colleges, and just our families at home, is take that time, set time aside to make sure you're communicating with your child. That's the main thing. That ventures out to a whole gamut of other issues that's underlying, that's not being addressed in the home. Where is your child at? Who is your child with? What are they doing? And when you rely on, where are you at? Oh, I'm at football practice. Are they really? And then when you come to the table and you sit down, many parents now, they are stressed, they're rushed. We're making more money than ever, and those who are, if you will, striving to make more money, they're not home. So I always have a little homework assignment, and what we've done is we've challenged families to set just one day out of 7 days, set one day aside to have a meal with your child. It could be breakfast, it could be lunch, it could be dinner, it could just be a snack. Get a grilled cheese and some tomato soup and some lemonade. But sit down with your child and say, Suzette, how was your day today? What's going on? What issues do you have? And that's when a parent can look at the way, you know, well, why did you look down like that? What's really going on?
And it seems as if, and you've said so many great things when it comes to advice for parents out there, sitting down and eating with your children is one of the primary ways social skills get taught. And I don't think we kind of, not everyone underestimates it, but a lot of us do underestimate the time, because it's easier to shove the iPad in front of someone or go play on the computer or get your laptop and be quiet. And it's an easier way to pacify young people than to engage. But what kind of social skills are passed along when people are actually interacting together?
That is an interesting question. One of the things that Avenues of Excellence that we do, our company do, is we train, a lot of our training is at the Ritz-Carlton and some other really well-known venues around in the Miami area. And some of the key things, very simple, but key things we train: how to set the table. Not how to set the table if you're going to a Diplomat or a president or the White House, but just a basic setting the table. Where does the fork go? Where does the knife go? And where does the spoon? Let's keep it simple. Let's do 3. Now, when we train with our colleges and, of course, our corporations, we get into a little bit more of a formal dining setting because now we're training, we call it dining for dollars. If you're going to do a contract or negotiation across the table and you invite your client for a business meal, you kind of need to know a little bit of the strategic part of it.
Right.
But for our kids, it's just showing them, okay, honey, you know, place the fork here, place the knife here, and place the spoon here. Sit up, put the napkin in, little things like that.
It's amazing to me because thankfully, if your parent was able to pass that along, thank you, Mom and Dad, you had this exposure, but we can't assume that everyone was able to get this type of exposure, and really that's what it is. And no one's better than anyone. Absolutely. They just haven't been exposed to it.
If you don't know, you don't know.
Exactly. So it's nothing to be ashamed of. It's something that can be learned.
Yes.
And I think people have customs.
Yes.
And even though we sometimes think those customs have gone away,
yes,
I don't think they're totally disappeared. I think there's a lot of people, especially in business, that have expectations of what people should behave like.
Yes.
When you wait till everyone is served before you start eating, that says a lot about you.
Yes.
That says, oh, this is a person that understands social custom. What other advantages are there in the work environment, in a work setting, to knowing these social skills? What are some of the advantages?
One of the key advantages, and we're working with many of the colleges locally and actually nationally now, is you know how to read your audience. That's when we take etiquette from how to sit, how to stand, place the napkin on your lap. That's elementary. When you start dining for dollars or dining for your corporate, you need to know when to order, what not to order, what to wear, what not to wear. Does your client have food allergies? Have you worked with their staff? It's about knowing how to strategically ensure your client is properly prepared so when they sit down with you, you can actually enjoy the meal. Right. So it becomes a little bit more strategic, and you know what that will do, Suzette? That will help the conversation ease in a little bit easier. Right. It really does.
Once you kind of take that awkwardness away,
absolutely,
it's easier to connect with that person because you've done some of that groundwork. And I think I'm hearing out there, I'm not sure if it's you, I'm hearing out there that there's someone in our audience that might be saying, why does this even matter? Who cares how you set the table? Who cares where the fork goes? What is this about? This is antiquated. This is old school. What do you say to that person who thinks, what difference does it make?
All right, I love that question. The reason why it matters is because everyone wants to move up in life. We ask the Lord to increase us. We ask the Lord to give us situations and circumstances to enlarge our territory. Well, when that happens, we need to be groomed and properly prepared. So as we move up the corporate ladder, as we are presented with grandiose opportunities, do we know how to handle ourselves? Do we know how to conduct ourselves? Are we rude? Are we crass? Or, as you just put it before, we just don't know. Well, if you don't know, that's when you seek training. It's kind of like, I want to be a doctor. I want to be a heart surgeon, but I don't want to go to medical school. Would you go to a heart surgeon? I'm having a heart problem, but I have a desire to be there, but I don't want the education. Right. So what Avenues of Excellence is doing, we're not only educating youth, but we're also ensuring that adults are properly prepared to advance, be marketable, and promotable in the marketplace.
That's an excellent way of putting it, because I think you may not know the rules, but other people do. And I think that's very important. You touch on something that I kind of want to go back to because I think it's so important. I think there are a lot of times when we're in a situation where we're not putting ourselves in the other person's shoes. And there's a word for it, I know, we call it emotional IQ. The ability to read other people. And I think a lot of times in society, if I'm at the grocery store, I'm looking across and observing everything that's going on, scanning. I get it from my parents, seeing what people's reactions are, seeing what people's emotional states are. So if something happens, I'm already aware that I need to run or I need to, lend a hug or whatever it is. I find that there are a lot of people today that don't do this. Why is that, and how can people get to a place where they hone that emotional IQ?
And that is going to actually go right back to where we first started, technology. We're such a fast-paced society. Everything is now, right now. Get the contract now, serve dinner now. Let me hurry up and drive now. Everything is warp speed. So when we're in the grocery store, when we're at the workplace, and maybe they're not moving as fast, or we're not reading our audience. In the business world, they call it, do you know your working styles? Are they a driver? Are they aggressive? Are they amenable? You know.
You could apply this to your husband.
You can apply. Can you read your spouse?
Exactly.
Is your spouse having a bad day? He has an attitude. No, maybe he's having a bad day.
And you're not reading it.
You're not reading it, and you're not picking that up. So the premise of etiquette and foundation to be applicable to that, it's really very easy. It comes down to 2 words: self-control. If you can control, you cannot control. I can't control Suzette, but I can control Rose.
Absolutely.
I don't know, maybe is Suzette, did she get a bad word today from a doctor? Did she have a rough leaving home with her spouse? Maybe she found out a job she really, really wanted, she didn't get. I don't know what's wrong. But if I know how to control self, then maybe, as you just stated, Suzette, maybe I can just give you a friendly smile. Or if you come across a little aggressive, I don't need to come back and bark at you.
Right.
I can just take it back and say, no problem, go right ahead. But everybody want to do Clash of the Titans. So it comes down to 2 words: self-control.
I love it. We have a few more minutes left. I want to get back to talking about your organization, Avenues of Excellence. What other services do you provide? You work with college students.
Yes.
You work with young people.
Yes,
Just
we
describe
do.
what you do.
All right. Well, at the end of the day, the foundation, again, is etiquette, social decorum, and professional development. We work with community organizations all over, again, to help, from Girl Scouts getting their merit badges to organizations that have after-school care. We're working with many of the schools in our public school system, colleges, because of course you can go to school to be a business professional, but do you know how to engage in a business environment? So
do you know how to interview? Do you know how to work with other people?
Do you know how to interview? Do you know how to work with people? You can have a really great resume, and the image of your resume is great, but can you convey the image that your resume is saying is about you? So someone is reading that and you're like, yep, that did actually that, and you're thinking to yourself, I don't know the first thing that they're talking about. You know, so those are the many things that we do to help people grow, to help people interact properly socially in the marketplace.
So I know a lot of people give millennials a bad rap. That segment of society doesn't have good social skills. Can that be improved?
It can be improved, but that's not all the case. That's some of the case. And again, it's because of the use of technology. It's not so much the millennials don't know, it's just that you're in a stage, you're in an era where everything is fast. So it's just a matter of taking time and sitting back and saying, you know what, let me go to a professional to brush up on some things. Again, when you get to that stage, you're past elementary. I mean, you may want to brush up on knife and fork, but at this point, you're talking about how to properly conduct yourself and read your audience.
So there is hope, and it sounds like you do offer one-on-one counseling as well as within a group setting.
We offer one-on-one, we do group settings. We love it. This is our passion.
So really quickly, as we're almost out of time, will you tell us your website where people can get more information?
Absolutely. www.avenuesofexcellence.com, and our Facebook page is @Avenues of Excellence.
Thank you so much to Rose Hedgemond. Check her out. We need this in society. But don't go anywhere. We have a lot more Joy in Our Town to come. Stay tuned.
Everything starts out small. The things that hurt us, they all start from somewhere. The words we say, the things we do, they can grow into something else. What was small and innocent can become big and sometimes scary. All it takes is one comment, one picture, one video for something to catch fire. But a big problem doesn't need a big response. Not at first. Even if we don't know what to say, the eye emoji can be that first step we take. Let's all pledge to take that first small step together and change the world in a big way. I'm a witness, and so are you.
Hello and welcome back to Joy in Our Town. I'm your host, Suzette Mailer. In this segment, I have a very special guest. Yes, they're all special to me. Miss Sandra Bernard Bastien. She is with the Children's Services Council, and she's going to talk about youth employment, special needs, and services. Welcome. How are you, Miss Sandra?
I'm fine. And you?
Very good. So glad you're joining us. So tell us a little bit about the Children's Services Council.
So the Children's Services Council is an independent taxing authority. The source of our funding comes from a little piece of your property taxes. We then take that money and we fund services for children and families in Broward County.
Excellent. When was it founded?
It was founded by statute in 2000.
Okay.
We opened our doors on the 17th of September 2001. I remember that day quite clearly because that was my first day at work.
Oh, so you've been with them since the very beginning.
I've been there since the beginning, yes.
So this is a special authority in Broward County, Florida.
Yes.
That serves children.
Yes.
Now, what were some of the needs that were in existence that caused this to be approved by the county commission, and what was the impetus behind the formation of the Children's Services Council?
So part of the history of the CSC is that at the time there was a definite acknowledgement by the community that there were many, many gaps in services as it related to children who were in the welfare system, the children who had no place to go after school because there were not enough after school programming, so on and so forth. There were also gaps in finding employment for youth over the summer. So when we came into being, those were some of the first things that we funded. Our first RFP, our procurement, was in fact for after-school programming.
Okay, so give us some examples. So your RFP, for people who don't know county lingo, what does RFP stand for?
So we're a government. We can't just go out and buy services from anyone. It has to be a fair system. So we have a procurement system, and that procurement system means that we identify the gap or the need or the service that's needed, and then we put out a request for proposals from the community to fill that need. Sometimes they come back to us with some things that a twist on something that we had not thought of, but more often than not, we do so much research around best practice so that we look for best practice models throughout the country, throughout the world, and we bring them here to Broward. When they come to Broward, we then adapt them to Broward because Broward is a special population. Our community is so diverse. The school system has over 100 languages being spoken in the school system, so that alone indicates the diversity of the community. So we sometimes have to adapt some of the best systems that we found working elsewhere to Broward County.
And it sounds like what has been designed is something to meet the needs on the local level.
Definitely.
Because a lot can be done. The feds are great in our structure, the federal and state.
Yes.
But this really breaks it down. So about how many students and young people do you serve through the Children's Services Council?
So at the last count, we serve over 400,000 children. Remember, we are here for the children and families of Broward County. We do public education. So for instance, a program like this will reach so many people in the county. We educate the public about swim safety. I know you did a segment recently on swim safety. We educate the public on safe sleep habits for their children,
Right.
And many other things.
So if I'm a young person, I'm in Broward County, or I'm the parent or guardian of the young person, how do I find out the type of services that you have that would address some of my needs?
So you go to our website, and on our website you'd look under the tab Publications, and under Publications we have a funded program guide. That funded program guide will identify each program that we fund, will describe each program that we fund, and will also give you a contact name, phone number, and email address for the person running that program.
Excellent. So to serve 400,000 young people is a tall order. How do you decide what is the greatest need?
So one of the good things about the CSC is we do nothing in a vacuum. Everything is done with through conversations with the community. That and those conversations takes place under the umbrella of the Broward County Children's Strategic Plan. Okay. The Children's Strategic Plan has focus areas, and around each focus area is a committee. That committee is working on a daily basis. They are meeting on a monthly or bi-monthly meeting to identify gaps. Once those gaps are identified in terms of services, then the community decides, hey, you know, we need to address this gap. Let us talk about it. Let us figure out how we're going to address this gap. The CSC gets involved by doing research around best practice, and voila. We have a funded area.
Yeah, very, very grassroots. It's
very
not like
grassroots.
people who are on the board and they decide. So it kind of is broken down into smaller committees and smaller parts. A lot more people can get their voices heard.
Yes. Everybody is involved in it. All segments. We really do try to reach out to all segments of the community, the business community, the faith-based community, teachers, the schools, the parents, the children. For instance, on the 17th of February, we're having a Youth and Family Summit. And that summit will have the youth voice, so that we will have young people contributing to what we do in the next 5 years. I think that's an awesome thing.
Going to the source to find out what they need.
Yes.
What kind of programs do you have to serve the very young child, pre-K and to zero to pre-K? What programs do you have for that?
So there is an entity in Broward County, the Early Learning Coalition, that has jurisdiction over that.
Okay.
We fund, at the last count, I believe, $4 million in terms of child care slots. So that mom who can't afford child care on her own can have a subsidized payment to pay. We also do quite a lot around the area of literacy. You may have heard about Broward Reads for the Record. Once a year, we give out 40,000 books. We have 1,200 volunteers going into every school. And the classrooms that we go to are the 4-year and the 5-year-olds. And we work in conjunction with Jumpstart, which is a national organization that hosts this National Day of Reading, so that we beat the world record that we probably set last year.
That's excellent. So it seems like from year to year, the needs of the community can change. What is the greatest need now for children in Broward County?
So I actually just came from a meeting when we were talking about the challenges that the child welfare systems face. There is never enough money to look after all of the children that we have in the welfare system. And I encourage your readers, I'm not your readers, your listeners,
it's all good.
Your readers, listeners, to please reach out to ChildNet, to reach out to an organization like Handy, to reach out to find out how they can help a child who has been removed from his home, in the system, his or her home. How can we help them and surround them and support them so that they could be the best that they could be?
Excellent. Give us an example of a success story where people can hear that their tax dollars, you know, that are going to Children's Services Council is being well used and has had an impact.
So I love that term tax, because for me it's associated with the Earned Income Tax Credit.
Okay.
The CSC funded and continues to fund a public awareness program around the Earned Income Tax Credit, as well as the Volunteer Income Tax Assistance. So if you are earning less than $40,000 a year, you can get free assistance in terms of filling out your tax prep. This is being done by someone who really only has your best interests at heart. It's free. They don't charge you a fee. And that whole program has brought back millions and millions and millions of dollars to Broward County every year.
Excellent. Now I see you have a passion for what you do. What motivated you to get involved with the Children's Services Council?
So I guess that motivation started with my CEO, Cindy Arenberg-Seltzer, who is a brilliant, brilliant woman, and her heart is all wrapped up and to make sure that the children in Broward County can be the best that they can be. I'm motivated every day by the staff that she recruited and the staff that we have around us. My colleagues are pretty amazing, professorial in some instances, but definitely their heart is in the right place. You know, a child, if you touch a child in a positive way today, you are really affecting somebody's life. Absolutely. So that's
motivating.
That is motivating enough. Yes.
So tell us where you see the Children's Services Council growing to in the future. What will it look like maybe 5 years from now or 10 years from now? Is it a mandate that lasts without an end date, or how will it develop in the future?
So interestingly enough, when we were founded in 2000, we were supposed to be founded in perpetuity. But the legislature decided a couple of years ago that we needed to be reauthorized. And in fact, we were. And we were reauthorized overwhelmingly. You know, it's pretty awesome of a community to decide that they are going to tax themselves in order to make sure that their children are successful. And that's what Broward did in 2000, and that is what they did in 2014.
So that was through a ballot measure?
A ballot measure.
So the folks in Broward County, Florida voted to keep it going.
Keep it going, yes.
That's wonderful.
That's
so
wonderful.
Tell us if there are parents out there or caregivers out there that don't know of, I guess, your little known programs.
Right.
What do you think are probably the programs that do have an impact that most people on average would not have heard of?
So most people would not realize that if you are paying a subsidized fee at a YMCA, that in fact that fee is subsidized by the CSC.
Wow.
The majority of the children that we served are in our after-school programs.
Like a YMCA?
Yes, a YMCA, a Boys and Girls Club, a After School Inc. I hope I didn't forget anybody. So that is where we touch the most children. You might not realize that that free book that your 4- and 5-year-old brought home in October came through us.
So real quick, just give us the website. We're almost out of time. What is the website again for Children's Services Council of Broward County?
So the website is www.cscbroward.org. Our phone number, 954-377-1000. Look forward to hearing from you.
Thank you so much to Ms. Sandra Bernard Bastien from the Children's Services Council. We hope you've learned a lot about what Broward County offers for its young people. Thank you so much for watching. You've been tuned to Joy in Our Town. I'm your host, Suzette Mailer. See you next time.